Hey, True Seekers, welcome back. Zach here. It is July 4th, 2015, and even on the nation's birthday, the mainstream media bombards the public with a false shooting story. This one also fuels the negative racist remarks that Donald Trump put out earlier this week about Mexicans and illegal immigrants. In this case, we get the story of an illegal immigrant who's been deported 5 times supposedly, yet is still remaining in the country, and now has shot and killed a woman at random. Let's watch the mainstream coverage of this story, and then let's break it down and expose the propaganda. Here we go, True Seeker.
Incident. The motive is still under investigation.
San Francisco police have 45-year-old Francisco Sanchez in custody. He was arrested about an hour after 32-year-old Kate Steinle was shot and killed while walking with her family on Pier 14. It was 6:30 on Wednesday evening, broad daylight. Police say that her murder makes no sense and appears to be totally random.
My understanding is that there were no words exchanged between the suspect and the victim. The victim said something to her family members to the extent that she didn't feel well, like something she realized like something had just taken place with respect to her, and she fell to the ground.
Kate died a short time later. Cron 4 sources say that Sanchez is on probation in Texas and in the country illegally. Those sources also say that Sanchez has been deported to Mexico several times.
There does not appear to be any connection between the victim and the suspect. At this point, it appears to be a random shooting incident. The motive is still under investigation, so we have no specific information at this time as to the motive for the crime.
There it is, a nonsensical story, no motive, and a police officer with perfect name gematria for the 4th of July, which we'll get into. But the first thing I want to show you are just the numbers that pop out right away. So often we see the number 31 used in these stories. That's the foundational degree of Scottish Rite Freemasonry, and it is the Freemasons that run our police departments. 31 is also the 11th prime number, and we know how these numerologists love 11, master number 11. The shooter, they've given us the name Juan Francisco Lopez Sanchez, which to me looks like some asshole just took 4 Spanish names, stuck them together, and made sure they summed to 113. Notice that Juan Francisco Lopez Sanchez equals 113, just like mainstream, just like green screen, just like dishonest. This number is coded so often into these hoaxes. You know, it's just over the top. In the post I did the other night on Donald Trump, I showed how they stuck the number 113 in there with the line, "Who is doing the raping?" Remember how Donald Trump kept going, "Well, who's doing the raping, Don? Who's doing the raping?" And trying to assert that it's Mexicans. I mean, what a sick assertion. Never heard that before, but that's just where they're going with this race war, trying to provoke people and put ideas in their heads that they haven't had before. The victim in this story, Kate Steinle, has name gematria of 49. This is in San Francisco, home of the 49ers. Also, 49 is a number connected to Revelation. And so are the numbers 67 and 121. Her name in simple English gematria sums to 121. So she has some often coded numbers in her name as well. And from that story, they said she died on Pier 14. Pier 14, the words dead and end sum to 14. Kate Steinle, dead on Pier 14 in a shooting where neither person spoke to each other. It was random and there was no motive. But it's enough to make a national news story. Why? Because they just want to put the propaganda out there. As so many of us know, most people don't watch news in this nation, but they pick up on the propaganda stories and they regurgitate them without any information. The average moron in this country will say, "See? That's why we got to close the borders. We got all these illegals over here, and now they're killing our girls." Also, with his ridiculous name Juan Francisco Lopez Sanchez, it takes me back to this special story, also out of San Francisco, that was a racial jab at Asians. If you haven't seen this, check this out. This is from a few years back.
Coroner is still trying to determine the cause of death and whether she was already dead. when the truck hit her. We have new information now also on the plane crash. KTVU has just learned the names of the 4 pilots who were on board the flight. They are Captain Sum Ting Wong, Wee Tu Lo, Ho Li Fook, and Bang Ding Ao. The NTSB has confirmed these.
Listen to how that nightly news anchor just reads it off like there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it shows you how dumb the people are that they put before us to read us this crap. It just makes me sick how most of America cannot wake up to this. I've seen through it since I was a little kid, Truth Seeker. I'm almost 32 years old.
Are the names of the pilots on board Flight 214 when it crashed. We are working to determine exactly what roles each of them played during the landing on Saturday.
That was before we got hit with the whole rash of plane hoaxes, missing planes, and everything else. So we see the mainstream dishonest coding in this man's name, this racial propaganda piece. What else is there to look at? Oh yes, the police officer. If you go back to my earliest videos, I say watch. In all these hoaxes, they keep coding the same numbers. 33, 47, 74, 26. With regards to 26, this story comes on 7/4/15. 7 plus 4 is 11, plus 15 more is 26. Comes on a date with 26 numerology. The shooting supposedly happened July 1st, but we're getting the story today on the 4th of July. Anyway, this police officer who went before us and seemed a little bit off kilter, his name's Michael Andrzejczak. That Andrzejczak's a pretty weird name. I suspect he recreated it to be part of this Mason fraternity that he's clearly a part of. Michael, a 33 name, Andrzejczak, 41, summing to 74. And this story comes out on July 4th, the 7th month, the 4th day. The word Masonic is 74. Propaganda over and over. San Francisco, no legal basis to hold shooting suspect. Notice that legal basis has a Pythagorean gematria of 33, and with the S exceptions, 51. The word conspiracy equals 51. And in this propaganda piece, there's also the political angle. Watch in the coming election season, this story might even get brought up as an example of why we need tougher border security. We need to build more walls. No, Truth Seeker, we just need to shut off our news, turn off all this propaganda, and get on with ourselves. With regard to this nation, the division between us and Mexico is a false division. We're truly under the same shadow government. I have some of my earliest videos are about how the United States was established by the New World Order, and the New World Order is an old thing. So when we use New World Order and talk about it as if it's coming, that is talking about it from a false perspective. We are a part of the New World Order. The New World Order is an old world order. Notice that Mexico and Mexican both have gematria of 33, and the Mexican-American War once ended on February 2nd, 1848. February 2nd is the 33rd day of the year. This nation with the 33 name on a 33 date. Once upon a time, a boogeyman between the United States and Mexico was Pancho Villa, who also has that 113 gematria. Just to show you that this is nothing new. This is how our whole history has been, coding these numbers over and over. The propaganda agents love to do it. Can't get enough. All right, Truth Seeker. From who is doing the raping to Juan Francisco Lopez Sanchez, learn that gematria and you'll see through this media more clearly than you've ever seen through it before. Until next time, Truth Seeker.